The following is an original production of AZPM News.
For Arizona Public Media, I'm Erika Hamden, professor of astrophysics at the University of Arizona, and this is Arizona Science. Joining me today is George Sutphin, associate professor of molecular and cellular biology at the University of Arizona. George's research focuses on the biology of aging, specifically the molecular processes that actually drive aging. Welcome, George.
Thank you, Erika. Happy to be here.
What is the biological point of aging?
All of it comes back to evolution and biology, right? There are creatures who live a lot longer than us, and there are creatures that live a lot shorter than us. And the question is, why would something like aging, where we kind of get less healthy as we get older, get disease, emerge from something like the evolutionary process?
Yeah.
And the reason is that evolution doesn't select for individual health or survival directly. It selects for population survival. And so there are benefits to being healthier later in life, but there are perhaps even more benefits to growing fast and reproducing early. And so if there is, for example, a gene that gives you a benefit to early life growth, but has a problem later in life, growth factors are a good example. Early in life, they let us grow up faster. Maybe we're more reproductively fit earlier, so we can continue the lineage in the population. But later, that same gene, that growth factor, contributes to cancer.
So I guess what I think I'm hearing from you is that the process of aging isn't really to serve a point, but it is just part of this bigger picture of what is best for the population as a whole.
Yeah, there are competing theories that there's actually a positive selection for aging, but most of the evidence points toward sort of a side effect of early life selection for things that are bad for you later and diminishing selection as we get older.
I want to ask you a little bit about the actual molecular processes that go into aging.
Sure.
I've learned about, I feel like the one that is most commonly talked about is telomere length on people's DNA, but I think there's many other things that are happening. And can you talk a little bit about each of those different ones or the ones that are most interesting to you?
Yeah, certainly telomeres, I think, are the ones that have gained the most popular acclaim. So as our cells get older, there's caps on our DNA that get a little bit shorter every time our cells divide, and they kind of put a limit on how many times our cells can divide. And so that kind of intuitively makes sense that might have an impact on aging. As we age, our cells divide more, and so they lose their ability to divide over time. There are many more. That is just the tip of the iceberg. There were early theories that would fix it, and those were wrong.
Of course,
we're never right out of the gate in biology or these complex systems. Getting back to the complexity, so the way we currently frame this as a field is similar to cancer. So maybe some of your listeners will have heard of the hallmarks of cancer, which are kind of the molecular processes that drive cancer, such as inflammation and mutation, and all of these various processes that together can cause cancer. Well, aging kind of used that model, and we now have the hallmarks of aging. There started out, I think, as 9 back when the first paper on this was published in about 2013. There's now about 12 to 14 recognized, and we're still adding to the list. Genomic instability is certainly one of them. Epigenetics are big right now, and so epigenetic changes as we age are one of them.
And that's changes in how the gene actually gets expressed.
Yes, so it's not the genetic code itself, but in some ways the way the local gene is packaged. So it can either be open and more able to be expressed, or closed and more repressed. And so which genes are repressed versus active change as we age, controlled to some extent by epigenetics.
I feel like in the last couple of years, there's been a huge increase in I don't want to say longevity science. I think they're tapping into something that all people want to age and maintain healthiness throughout their lives.
Absolutely. The whole of the ecosystem surrounding aging science is growing very rapidly. I think since the first gene discovered where you can target that gene and get a lifespan extension was in the kind of mid-'80s to late 80s. And since then, that kind of opened the door to genetics of aging and molecular biology of aging. And so we were studying it before then, but that was the kind of turning point in the current molecular revolution of aging science. And certainly in the last 10 to 15 years, there's been an explosion of interest and work in this area, and that has started to trickle over into the public space. And so there's a lot of information and discussion in popular media about aging, which I see as kind of a double-edged sword. It's increasing exposure, which is good, because I think, in my opinion, this is one of the places where we can focus our attention in medical science and have the biggest impact. But there's the flip side in that a lot of these people are not scientists, and they are, in some cases, overrepresenting where we are in terms of our understanding and what we can do about these things. And so there's a lot of hype about supplements or peptides or things you can take and have a benefit to aging. That might be true, but the real answer is we don't know, especially if you're taking not 1, but 5 or 20 of these things. They all interact at some level. Even if we knew the underlying mechanism for some of these individual ones, we don't know what's going to happen when you start piling them on top of each other. And so there is real science, and there are real drug candidates and intervention candidates that are promising and kind of right at the edge of we're just starting to test them in human clinical trials. So we will know this stuff eventually. And there is some good science about maybe things you can do. I mean, it's a little mundane, but you can sleep more and you can eat better and you can exercise. Probably the underlying reason why these things are good for you is that they are improving your aging biology. They're slowing that process and therefore having the kind of a broad spectrum impact on all areas of health downstream.
The only advice that I think is actually good is that you should sleep at least 8 hours a night.
Well, yes, sleep more, eat more whole foods, and move more. I think you can't go wrong with following that advice.
Yeah. I guess I'm curious for your take on like what the, not necessarily end point is, but like if it's 100 years from now and this work has continued and progressed, if like the maximum human lifespan now is like 100 to 110 years maybe, would people be living longer? Or would they be just like healthier up until that same kind of time limit?
So there is debate in the field about whether there is a sort of maximum lifespan that we're not going to get past. The oldest human on record was about 122, and very few people get out that old.
And a lot of those records are like highly questionable.
The ones we have good records for,
okay. That's
122 is about the max.
Okay.
There are stories about older people, but we don't know. But even a lot of the ones that seem even reliable in that stage, most way back in history, we see that people make it out to like 100 plus.
Yeah.
And so that even before modern medicine, some people were getting there if they didn't get a pathogen or have an accident or do the other things. Right. The things that like don't kill us as much anymore because of the way we've progressed in society. We have better hygiene, and we have vaccines, and we have antibiotics, and we have safety, and we very rarely actually have to go weather a storm outside, right? So we've done a lot of the work to fix these early life things that have historically killed us through most of human history. And just in the last 100, 200 years have we gotten to the point where the majority of the things that kill us are internal biology that's going wrong.
Thanks so much for talking with us, George. I'm really excited for you to do work that will mean that one day I will be young forever.
Me too. So thank you for having me. This has been fun.
This is Erika Hamden, and you've been listening to Arizona Science. We've been talking with George Sutphin, who studies the molecular processes that drive aging. You can hear more of this conversation and others on our Arizona Science segments by going to azpm.org/Arizona Science.
This has been an original production of AZPM News.